Hey guys, what is going on? This is your old pal CHH. Just excuse the mess back there. As you guys know, we're in the process of beginning to build my my future studio where I'm going to be moving all my stuff, so it's just kind of messy in here. Just focus here. That's why I got bright colors on. Distract you from the messy background. All right, guys, so you know I've got a love-hate relationship with Lionsgate Limited. So far, I've been pretty happy with the releases themselves. Quite frankly, I think the best release they've done is one that I've seen people kind of sleep on, and that was Frailty. What a movie that is. If you haven't seen Frailty, I mean, it's a Bill Paxton film. It was Matthew McConaughey as well, and I believe Bill Paxton even directed it. It's one of the more ingenious type of horror films with really intense subject matter. I'm a huge fan of Frailty. If you haven't seen that one, please, for God's sakes, check out that release. Just pay for it. I did. Just pay for it. Make me feel less bad about myself. The movie we're talking about today is a movie from the 2000s. That's right, I am happy to talk about horror in the 4K from the 2000s because I am learning that even though things were done digitally at that point to process the stuff, I think, for home video, a lot of these films were shot on film. It seems to be one of the best eras right now for 4K, and that is The Descent, guys. The Descent, when you look at the landscape of 2000s horror, I think you have to look at The Descent. I think you have to look at that. And there's a lot of innovation in the 2000s. Like, I forget how much innovation there really was. You could take a movie like The Descent, which clearly pushes the boundaries of light and how dark you can make a movie purposefully, not because the movie's not lit well, but I mean seriously, watching a movie with little light in moments because they're in a freaking cave. You've got movies like Silent Hill, which were really pushing the technology with CGI and creating a world with CGI. Even though I'm not a CGI lover, I have to say my favorite CGI film, for what it's worth, has to be Silent Hill, and I'd like to see that movie in 4K given the opportunity if it ever comes out. I love Silent Hill. There's a lot of different kind of horror films in the 2000s, and The Descent has to be one that is a staple. I think The Descent could be a top 10 2000s horror film. The thing that's so great about this film is the interpersonal dynamics with this movie, and I'll tell you why this movie works so well, because when the shit hits the fan, it hits the fan enough to where you kind of stop thinking about the interpersonal dilemmas with some of the characters. That's a very simple premise film. I don't need to go into too much detail. You can take a guess by just the artwork. It's a bunch of girls in this cave. The reason why it's extra juicy when you're watching this is because The Descent really goes for it in the opening scene. Now, I will discuss this. It's not really a spoiler per se because there's more to it than this. This is what I'll say. The Descent absolutely throws you off in the beginning when you've got this happy-go-lucky scene. All these girls are kayaking, and one of them is a mother, meets up with the husband, and on the way home, they die in incredible fashion. Incredible fashion. My God. It is a type of scene. You audibly will gasp when you see it. Most of you have seen this film. That's why I'm saying this. I feel like everybody watching this has probably seen The Descent. Usually I try to avoid spoilers about stuff, but I mean, for God's sakes, it's The Descent. Everybody saw this on the Blockbuster shelves back in the day. And then the movie progresses from there. There's more to the interpersonal stuff that goes on there. I will leave that out just in case. But yeah, The Descent is one of those movies that less is more. They do give you a little bit of a preface, obviously, but it gets you right into the action with giving you enough to chew on. It's actually a brilliant film in that aspect because they don't bog you down with a bunch of bullshit. They give you what you need to say, oh, okay, and then they go right into the cave. And 95% of the movie is the cave. And this is what's so great about this 4K. I've never had any bad experiences with this movie besides my full screen DVD because, boy, I didn't realize how much I was missing picture-wise with that film. But what's so great about this is, the definition. Here's another thing that is of note. I want to say this now before I forget. This movie was restored in 5K. Now, I'm still learning all of what that means. I think part of that makes me wonder, will there be another format after 4K? Will there be an 8K? Because I have heard of movies being restored in 8K, and obviously they get brought down to a 4K format, I guess. But in the beginning of this film, they actually have a header before the movie starts, and it says this movie was remastered at such and such place, was overseen by cinematographer and director, and was remastered in 5K. I wonder how much of a practice that is with other releases. Like, even though we're getting these films as 4K UHDs, are other films typically restored in 5K, 6K, 7 or 8K, and how often? That's something I'd like to learn more about, and I wish it would be more readily known when buying movies. I actually really appreciate the fact that they told me this. Now, I watched the unrated version of this. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. But watching this film in this 4K, there's no surprise, there really shouldn't be, that this movie looked incredible. I mean, and it should. And it really is the best way to watch it. And, it's one of those things, too, where, like, sometimes I worry about movies that are really dark and 4K. This is not a case of like, oh, this movie like Friday the 13th, watch it with the lights out, because the movie's supposed to have a dimmish look. No, The Descent actually looked fantastic, because when there's moments in the cave where you see a girl like probably 20 feet back from the camera and she's got her little flare up, man, the detail and everything, even though it's just a little bit of light illuminating off the back of the walls, you can see all the detail in there. And it really was an experience. Now, I did make sure, because this film is the kind of film it is, I turned off all my lights. But it was phenomenal. I gotta say, I really enjoyed The Descent on 4K. I would actually give the picture quality of this a 9.9 out of 10. It rocked the house, quite frankly. And I hate to say this, because I feel like I'm just saying it to say it for maybe like just effect, but that's not the case. I really think this is one of the best 4Ks this year, and it is a movie that I think really benefits from that, because of the colors and stuff that they put in here. There's a lot of night vision stuff that they show through some of the camera lenses that the girls have, as well as a lot of flares, flashlights, and stuff like that. And the camera really goes to work, and that restoration really just goes to work on all that. So I was super happy with the picture quality of this. I always say this sometimes when it does happen. My wife, who's never impressed by anything and super high definition, usually you put on a DVD and she'll say this looks the same. When we did watch this, she was like, okay, that looks really good. So I was happy with The Descent on 4K. The audio on this too was a 7.1, and I made sure my setup was done as best I can. There are moments that your volume will be at a steady pace, but when one of those little suckers comes out or anything and there's a big hiss, boy, the volume cranks up. So it definitely had like that cinematic audio experience. So yeah, I love this film. I'd give the film a solid 4.5 stars out of 5. I'd give the restoration a 9.9. But let's look at the release itself. Here's the artwork for The Descent. You can slide the slipcover right off, and not a bad slipcover. I think Lionsgate should take a few more risks. I really like what they did with Frailty, and I think The Descent could have been a movie that would have been good to have some of these kind of extra things like Frailty did. I think this title is going to sell really well for them. Here's the actual slipcover itself, or the steelbook itself, I should say. You got all the girls right there on the cave, and look at the picture that it makes in there. That's wicked cool. Yeah, I love that. All right, so we have 2 discs in here. You have your 4K and your Blu-ray disc, and I should say that the Blu-ray, I think that they're actually using the new restorations on the Blu-rays, because the Blu-ray look fantastic too. You do get a digital code, which I sold, and I got to make sure I talk about this to you guys down below. But first, let's talk about the special features, because I want to bitch about Lionsgate, but they're making it hard to, except for one thing. And I'm in a good mood because of this, which I'm going to make sure you all know about this when buying Lionsgate Limited. There are 2 new features. It's important to note that there's all the previous features that were on the old releases, like Beneath the Scenes, deleted and extended scenes, outtakes, interviews with the director Neil Marshall, cast and crew commentaries, and legacy features. But there's 2 new Lionsgate Limited extras, What Lies Beneath It, re-exploring The Descent, and Poetic Pain. And they're very well done. I've been happy with the new release kind of features that Lionsgate does. Obviously, because the one benefit about an actual studio putting out their own releases is there's no excuse not to have the people involved with their releases. So that's a good thing about these Lionsgate Limiteds. So, The thing that is up everybody's ass about these releases all the time is the shipping. And I've heard a lot of people say, they like, look, Christian, it is what it is. I'm just going to wait till I can get a couple things so the shipping is free. Because I think if you spend over a certain amount, you know, you do get free shipping, of course. But here's something I will say. If you get these releases pretty early, you can sell the digital codes for about $10, sometimes a little bit more. And I did, so I ate the shipping on this, which makes me feel a little bit better about that. So keep that in mind. You know, I'm not saying you can't sell the digital codes if you wait a little bit, but then the price decreases because the market value of those digital codes goes down because a lot of people are able to buy them from people. But, you know, I'm in Facebook groups and stuff where you can sell digital codes, so I sold my digital code. I feel better about that. So I sold it for $10. It was $8 shipping, so I ate my shipping on that. Overall, though, if you haven't seen this, this is a great film. The unrated version is the way to go, and I love it, guys. So that's A Descent. Yeah, check it out, guys. I gotta say, Lionsgate Limited, they may be a little bit of a pain in the butt with their shipping, and their prices are right on the mark of being a little bit high, but the quality of the restorations and the features, for the most part, have been really good. So that's it, guys. I'm going to give this release 2 thumbs up. The Descent, damn good movie. Be sure to like the video, drop your comment below, and subscribe if you haven't. Thank you guys for watching.